This is Bill Brady doing another recording for the Kingship course. This particular recording is on the promise of the bright morning star, the promise to overcomers of the bright morning star. Let's just take a look at that promise. It's so that you can see it here. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit. So this is the seventh promise to overcomers, which is the second of two promises to overcomers in the ecclesia in Thyatira. And again, remember, this applies to all of us, not just to Thyatira. So promise number 7, he who overcomes, I will give him the morning star. This is Jesus speaking to the ecclesia in Thyatira, saying, those who are amongst you in the ecclesia who overcome, I will give them the morning star. Excuse me. Okay, well, there are 4 mentions of morning star in Scripture. And we'll take a look at the first mention, which is in Job 38. And I'm going to read you verses 1 through 7. This is New King James Version. The actual mention of the morning stars is down here in verse 7. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, who is this who darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Now prepare yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. So here's the first question. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding. Next question. Who determined its measurements? So who determined the measurements of the foundations of the earth? Surely you know. Question number 3. Or who stretched the line upon it? Question 4. To what were its foundations fastened? Question 6. Or who laid its cornerstone? And verse 7, when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. So when God, this would be God working together with the Word, creating the earth, and we've got some of the actions he did in order to create the earth. He laid the foundations of the earth. He determines the measurements of the foundations of the earth. He stretched out the line upon it. He fastened the foundations to something, though the scripture doesn't tell us what he fastened it to, and he laid its cornerstone. And laying its cornerstone was the last of the actions he did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was the 6th of 6 actions he did to actually, as part of creating the earth, having to do with foundations of the earth. And when he laid the cornerstone of the foundations of the earth, the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Well, we know who the sons of God are. These are the Ben Elohim. It's a class of angels. And some of them, another term for them is watchers, and some of them are the ones that fell and became the fallen angels. So we know who the morning stars are. The morning star, I'm sorry, who the sons of God were. They shouted for joy. This is before they fell, because they didn't fall until chapter 6 of Genesis, and the earth was created in chapter 1. But besides the sons of God shouting for joy when the cornerstone was laid, cornerstone of the earth, the morning stars sang together. Now, star language is used for angels. That's just something you need to understand. So again, this is a category of angels that sang together at the time that God laid the cornerstone of the earth, which is the cornerstone of the foundation. Think of a foundation of a building as being rectangular or square, and in one of the 4 corners, there's a cornerstone that's laid. Okay. When God laid that cornerstone, the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. And the morning stars are a category of angels. I don't know anything more about it than that. Okay, now let's take a look at the other three mentions of morning star in Scripture. That was first mention of morning star. So you need to take that into account. That's the first mention. The other three are all in the New Testament. So let's take a look here. In 2 Peter 1:19, Peter says, "And so we have the prophetic word confirmed, which you do well to heed as a light that shines in a dark place until the day dawns and the morning star rises in your hearts." So the prophetic word of the Old Testament was a light that shines in a dark place until the day dawns. Well, you know what the day dawning means. The sun cracks above the horizon and the light starts shining into the darkness and the day starts getting brighter and brighter. And part of that daybreak is that the morning star rises. Now, what's the morning star? The morning star is the planet Venus. And the planet Venus is either going to be just above the sun or just below the sun or off to the right or the left. Anyway, it also rises above the horizon at the time of, or around the time of sunrise. And Peter is saying that the prophetic word is a light that shines in the darkness, in a dark place, until the day dawns, which means the sun comes slightly above the horizon and we start seeing the sun, and the morning star rises in your hearts. These two things, the day dawning and the morning star rising in your hearts, are describing a spiritual experience. So you've got the prophetic word giving you light until the sun starts giving you light, and the morning star starts giving you light. Now you need to understand that stars and planets all look like stars, just that planets are bigger and they wander around, they move around the sky, they don't stay in one place. And okay, so the day dawning is the sun coming on the horizon, the morning star rising is the planet Venus coming above the horizon. And each of these is a spiritual experience with respect to revelation and light. Now, with respect to the sun, there's a passage in Malachi that tells us that the sun of righteousness rises. And that, I believe, is Jesus rising. But the morning star is also Jesus rising. We know that because down here in Revelation 22:16, Jesus, I, Jesus, have sent my angel to testify to you, he's speaking to John, these things in the ecclesias. I am the root and the offspring of David, the bright and morning star. Jesus, Yeshua, is the bright and morning star by the time Revelation 22:16 comes around. So the morning star rising is Jesus rising as Venus, and the day dawning is Jesus rising as the Son of Righteousness. It's two different experiences of revelation coming to you. And then let's take a look again at Revelation 2:28, where Jesus promises overcomers, I will give him the morning star. Now, this is not just Jesus rising as the morning star. He actually gives you the morning star. And again, the morning star is the planet Venus. I'm just picturing the astronauts getting out of the spacecraft and putting their flag down on moon and then claiming it for whatever country, this country or that country. We can't all say, well, Venus belongs to me now. That's not what he's talking about. It's something spiritual going on here, but it's not the same thing as morning star rising in your heart. This is something different. I give you the morning star. I will give him the morning star, which means the promise isn't saying that I give it to you right now. It's a promise that I will at some time in the future give you the morning star. When that time comes, he'll give you the morning star and you receive it. And put it in your heart is what I expect to do. Now, I don't have any more revelation about this than that. There's 4 mentions of morning star in scripture. I've gone through all 4 mentions and told you what I know about it. But if you've overcome, then you have a promise that Jesus will give you the morning star. And when you have that experience of him giving the morning star to you, you'll know it. And then you'll start learning by revelation from Jesus what to do about how to function now that you have been given the morning star. I won't give any more on that than what I just said, because I don't know anything more at that point, though I do know that I've got the promise that he will give me the morning star. Okay. These things are really exciting, and they give you a foreshadowing of something that's coming ahead. You understand foreshadowing in a movie or a book. Something happens earlier that tells you that something is going to happen later that's about the same topic. There is going to be spiritual experience coming up for you at some time in the future as a king, where you're going to have an experience of being given the morning star and learning how to function. I mean, what do I do with a morning star once I'm given it? Well, don't know right now, but you will know then. Just ask. I mean, once you're given the morning star, the journey is of functioning as one who has the morning star has begun, and you start being trained in how to function as one who has the morning star. Right now, as one who has overcome, you've got a promise that you will be given the morning star. If you haven't yet overcome and haven't yet become a king, you can look ahead to see the time that you do overcome, and you will be given the promise that you will be given the morning star. And then at a later point, you will be given the morning star. And at that point, you can then be trained how to function as one who's been given the morning star.